I demand a trial by combat.
This is Let's Get Litty Read Along, GOT edition. Escape into the land of Westeros each week as we travel through the Seven Kingdoms. Which house will prevail and rule the Iron Throne, or gain its independence? Is a bigger evil really lurking beyond the wall? With decade-long summers and even longer winters, grab your favorite drink, sit back, and relax because reading is coming. Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Get Litty Read Along. We're coming back with another short episode this week, episode 9, which means next week is episode 10. We are going to try to make that one really fun. I am still on the mend from the cold last week. No NyQuil tonight, just a lot of cough drops and a lot of tissues. It's incredible how much snot a body can produce. Also, to address the elephant in the room on the vid, I'm sure you can see this lovely scab on my lip. I had the misfortune of burning it on tuna helper, and I wish I could say this was the first time it's ever happened. It is not. So I just think it's cool sometimes, and it's not. This is better than it was. It's the swelling's going down and it's really just scabbing, but it keeps like breaking and bleeding and then re-scabbing. So hopefully it heals soon because it looks disgusting and I'm over it. Between the cold and the lip and like some little acne breaking out, I'm just really freaking going through it. So that's again short episode this week. And to top things off, like you can tell it's a full moon week because the moment I sat down, freaking the computer was like low battery 20%. So we're also racing against the MacBook here. But got a new mic. We're gonna see how this works. Being married to someone who plays music and stuff worked out really well. Turns out we had fancy equipment in our basement that I didn't know about. So we got that set up and we got the new backdrop, our gothic library. And our drink of the week is some water, courtesy of Hy-Vee. Purified drinking because we need to be hydrated, and I am pretty sure I am dehydrated. So, bottoms up. Yeah. Honestly, though, water is just sometimes like so refreshing. Anyway, next week episode 10. Did I already say this? If I did, sorry. We're gonna have fun. I'm also really excited for next weekend because I'm gonna get to go see Les Mis Broadway tour, and I cannot wait. So let's just jump right in with Johnny Boy Stark. Nope, Johnny Boy Snow. Jon climbed the steps slowly, trying not to think that this might be the last time ever. Ghost padded silently beside him. Outside, snow swirled through the castle gates. And the yard was all noise and chaos, but inside the thick stone walls it was still warm and quiet. Too quiet for Jon's liking. He reached the landing and stood for a long moment, afraid. Ghost nuzzled at his hand. He took courage from that. He straightened and entered the room. Lady Stark was there beside his bed. She had been there day and night for close on a fortnight. Not for a moment had she left Bran's side. She had had her meals brought to her there, chamber pots as well, and a small hard bed to sleep on, though it was said she had scarcely slept at all. She fed him herself the honey and water and herb mixture that had sustained life. Not once did she leave the room, so Jon had stayed away. But now there was no more time. She had stood in the door for a moment, afraid to speak, afraid to come closer. The window was open. Below, a wolf howled. Ghost heard and lifted his head. Lady Stark looked over. For a moment, she did not seem to recognize him. Finally, she blinked. What are you doing here? She asked in a voice strangely flat and emotionless. I came to see Bronn, Jon said, to say goodbye. In my world, apparently Jon is Irish or something. I used to be so good at accents. Like I even got free Taco John's back in college for it. So I need to start talking because when I don't do it all the time, I lose it. But I had a backstory that my parents met uh, on holiday. And so my mom was from England and my dad was from Australia. And that's why my accent wavered between the two sometimes and like sounded like a mix because I'd spend, university time during university time in England and then holiday summers in Australia. And so because I couldn't keep just a straight British accent, it would always like falter a little bit and kind of sound Australian unintentionally. So sorry to all my friends and coworkers. I'm just about to talk in a accent for a while so I can get back into that groove because it's been it's been like 8 years or so since then. Okay, back to our chapter. Her face did not change. Her long auburn hair was dull and so we in fact did not beat the MacBook dying. So I had to go get my charger and replug and restart everything. So this is great fun. So glad that it's the weekend. It is not the weekend right now while I'm recording this, just when you're listening to this. But just know that I am glad we made it to the weekend because this week has been something. Full moon weeks, either spectacular and pulls in all the power, or they're chaotic and a shit show mess, and the latter is happening so far. It's not like the worst week ever. It's just very tiring and like for what? For what? You know? Anyway, get back to Jon and Catelyn. Just go ahead and back it on up a little bit. Hmm. Her face did not change. Her long auburn hair was dull and tangled. She looked as though she had aged 20 years. You've said it. Now go away. Part of him wanted only to flee, but he knew that if he did, he might never see Bran again. He took a nervous step into the room. Please, he said. Something cold moved in her eyes. I told you to leave, she said. We don't want you here. Once that would have sent him running. Once that might have even made him cry. Now it only made him angry. He would have he would be a sworn brother of the Night's Watch soon, and face worse dangers than Catelyn Tully Stark. He is my brother, he said. Shall I call the gods? Call them, Jon said, defiant. You can't stop me from seeing him. He crossed the room, keeping the bed between them, and looked down on Bran where he lay. She was holding one of his hands. It looked like a claw. This was not the Bran he remembered. The flesh had all gone from him, his skin stretched tight over bones like sticks. Under the blanket, the legs bent in ways that made Jon sick. His eyes were sunken deep into the black pits, open, but they saw nothing. The fall had shrunken him somehow. He looked half a leaf, as if the first strong wind would carry him off to the grave. Yet, under the frail cage of those shattered ribs, his chest rose and fell with each shallow breath. Bran, he said, I'm sorry I didn't come before. I was afraid. He could feel the tears rolling down his cheeks. Jon no longer cared. Don't die, Bran, please. We're all waiting for you to wake up. Me and Robb and the girls, everyone. Lady Stark was watching. She had not rise to cry. John took that for acceptance. Outside the window, the dire wolf howled again, the wolf that Bron had not had time to name. I have to go now, John said. Uncle Benjamin is waiting, and I'm to go north to the wall. We have to leave today before the snow comes. He remembered how excited Bran had been at the prospect of the journey. It was more than he could bear, the thought of leaving him behind like this. John brushed away his tears, leaned over, and kissed his brother lightly on the lips. I wanted him to stay here with me, Lady Stark said softly. John watched her wary. She was not even looking at him. She was talking to him, but for a part of her, it was as though he were not even in the room. I prayed for it, she said dully. He was my special boy. I went to sleep and prayed 7 times to the 7 faces of God that Ned would change his mind and leave him here with me. Sometimes prayers are answered. John did not know. Oh my gosh. John did not know what to say. It wasn't your fault, he managed after an awkward silence. Her eyes found him. They were full of poison. I need none of your absolution, bastard. John lowered his eyes. She was cradling one of Brown's hands. He took the other, squeezed it, fingers like the bones of birds. Goodbye, he said. He was at the door when she called out to him. John, she said. He should have kept going, but she had never called him by his name before. He turned back to find her looking at his face as if she were seeing it for the first time. Yes, he said. It should have been you, she told him. Then she turned back to Bran and began to weep, her whole body shaking with sobs. John had never seen her cry before. It was a long walk down to the yard. For anyone who's not watching the video, there was a long pause because I saw the next sentence and my face dropped, and this solidified why I do not like Catelyn Stark. Never have. At what a biatch. Outside, everything was noise and confusion. Wagons were being loaded, men were shouting, horses were being harnessed and saddled and led from the stables. A light snow had begun to fall, and everyone was in an uproar to be off. Rob was in the middle of it, shouting commands with the best of them. He seemed to have grown of late, as if Brown's fall and his mother's collapse had somehow made him stronger. Grey Wind was at his side. Uncle Benjamin is looking for you, he told John. He wanted to be gone an hour ago. I know, said John. Soon. He looked around at all the noise and confusion. Leaving is harder than I thought. For me too, Rob said. He had snow in his hair, melting from the heat of his body. Did you see him? John nodded, not trusting himself to speak. He's not going to die, Rob said. I knew it. You Starks are hard to kill, John agreed. His voice was flat and tired. The visit had taken all the strength from him. Rob knew something was wrong. My mother. She was very kind, John told him. Rob looked really good. He smiled. The next time I see you, you'll be in all black. John forced himself to smile back. It was always my color. How long do you think it'll be? Soon enough, Rob promised. He pulled John to him and embraced him fiercely. Farewell, Snow. John hugged him back. And you, Stark, take care of Bran. I will. They broke apart and looked at each other awkwardly. Uncle Benjamin said to send you to the stables if I saw you, Rob finally said. I have one more farewell to make, John told him. Then I haven't seen you, Rob replied. John left him standing there in the snow, surrounded by wagons and wolves and horses. It was a short walk to the armory. He picked up his package and took the covered bridge across the keep. Arya was in her room, packing a polished ironwood chest that was bigger than she was. Nymeria was helping Arya with helping. Arya would only have to point, and the wolf would bound across the room, snatch up a wisp of silk in her drawers, and fetch it back. But when she smelled ghost, she sat down on her haunches and yelped at them. Arya glanced behind her, saw Jon, and jumped to her feet. She threw her skinny arms tight around his neck. I was afraid you were gone, she said, her breath catching in her throat. They wouldn't let me out to say goodbye. What did you do now? John mused. Arya disentangled herself from John and made a face. Nothing. I was all packed and everything. She gestured at the huge chest, no more than a third full, at the clothes that were scattered all over the room. Septum Mordane says I have to do it all over. My things weren't properly folded, she says. A proper southern lady doesn't just throw her clothes inside her chest like old rags, she says. Is that what you did, little sister? Well, they're going to get all messed up anyway, she said. Who cares how they're folded? Septum Mordane, John told her. I don't think she'd like my Mary helping either. The she-wolf regarded him silently with her dark golden eyes. It's just as well. I have something for you to take with you, and it has to be packed very carefully. Her face lit up. A present? You'll call it that. Close the door. Wary but excited, Arya checked the hall. Nymeria here, guard. She left the wolf out there to warn intruders at the closed door. By then John had pulled off the rags he'd wrapped it in. He held it out to her. Arya's eyes went wide. Dark eyes like his. A sword, she said in a small hushed breath. The scabbard was soft grey leather, supple as a sin. John drew out the blade slowly, so she could see the deep blue sheen of the steel. This is no toy, he told her. Be careful you don't cut yourself. The edges are sharp enough to shave you. Girls don't shave, Arya said. Maybe they should. Have you ever seen the Septa's legs? She giggled at him. It's so skinny. So are you, John told her. I had Mick and make the special. The Bravos use swords like the Simpintos and Mare and the other free cities. It won't hack a man's head off, but it can poke him full of holes if you're fast enough. I can be fast, Arya said. You'll have to work at it every day. He put the sword in her hands, showed her how to hold it, and stepped back. How does it feel? Do you like the balance? I think so, Arya said. First lesson, John said. Stick them with the pointy end. Arya gave him a whack on the arm with the flat of her blade. The blow stung, but John had found himself grinning like an idiot. I know which end to use, Arya said. A doubtful look crossed her face. Septim Dane will take it away from me. Not if she doesn't know you have it, John said. Who will I practice with? You'll find someone, John promised her. King's Landing is a true city, 1,000 times the size of Winterfell. Till you found a partner, watch how they fight in the yard. Run and ride, make yourself strong, and whatever you do. Arya knew what was coming. They said it together. Don't tell Sansa. John rested her hair. I will miss you, little sister. Suddenly, she looked like she was going to cry. I wish you were coming with us. Different roads sometimes leads to the same castle. Who knows? He was feeling better now. He was not going to go letting himself be sad. I better go. I'll spend my first year on the wall emptying chamber pots if I keep Uncle Benjamin waiting any longer. Arya ran to him for a last hug. Put down the sword first, John warned her, laughing. She set it aside almost shyly and showered him with kisses. When he turned back to the door, she was holding it again, trying it for a balance. I almost forgot, he told her. All the best swords have names. Like ice, she said. She looked at the blade in her hand. Does this have a name? Oh, tell me. Can't you guess? John teased. Your very favorite thing. Arya seemed puzzled at first. Then it came to her. She was that quick. They said it together. Needle. The memory of her laughter warmed him on the long ride north. Hey! Like I said, quick, easy this week. And get ready for next week. Episode 10. It's going to be a long one. So hold tight, get back. Nope. Hold tight, sit back, get ready. And I'm signing off. Stay litty, make it through the weekend.